Sir, we'll start now. The participants will be joining. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Aggregar, we welcome you to the weekend webinar series. Today, we have an eminent speaker, Dr. G.B. Ramanjanelu Garu, who is Executive Director of CSA. He will be speaking on organic natural agri-value chain certification challenges and solutions. Before going ahead, I just would like to give some webinar instructions. By default, you have joined the session in audio only mode. If you have a question, please post it in Q&A section or in the chat box. It will be read out and answered during the Q&A session. We will have a separate Q&A session after the speaker's presentation. In case of any issue, please raise your hand and we can allow you to talk. Even if you want to ask your question on live, we will allow you to talk. Please raise your hand for the same. Since we are using a virtual platform, you may likely to experience a time lag. In case if you get logged out, please log in using the same link. Before going ahead, I would like to give a short brief about Aggregar. Aggregar Services Private Limited is a social enterprise registered in 2019 with an objective of promoting rural and urban entrepreneurship and also employment generation in agriculture and allied sectors. We are going ahead with a mission to enhance the rural economy, and our vision is to achieve 1 lakh rural livelihoods in decades journey. As informed, our objective is to promote rural livelihoods. Here we are going to address a problem of unemployment and also migration of rural youth to urban areas in search of employment. We have observed that 7.61% of 15% unemployed youth are fall between 20 to 24 years of age, of which 7.61% cater to the rural population. We believe that lack of skill training and not being industry ready is the factor for this. So here we are proposing a one-stop enterprise development platform with end-to-end services, not only giving capacity building training to aspiring entrepreneurs, but also we support in their documentation, facilitating bank linkages and providing loans, and also we provide mentorship for their business development, and we support them until they establish their first market. We have various competitive advantages. We have a quite lot of backward and forward linkages. We can connect to the market, and our technology initiatives, which we would like to take up, are the unique USPs, and we are going ahead with an unique model, being a training cum production center. We align with almost 8 of 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. We follow 3 approaches for achieving the same. The first one is AWAKE, which is awareness workshops on agri knowledge towards rural entrepreneurship and employment. This webinar series is part of it. We are trying to create the awareness among the rural population on the opportunities available, and also connecting to eminent speakers like today. We not only are providing awareness, we would like to mentor them and give them support so that their skills are improvised, and so in turn improve their livelihoods. The second approach is SCOPE, which is strategies for creating opportunities for professionals, mainly for the agri graduates and diploma candidates who intend to continue their career in agri sector. We observe that many of them tend to move to other sectors due to lack of opportunities, but we want to create awareness and also create opportunities through this. The third approach is CORE. We in fact believe that CORE is the core approach of Aggregar. Here we create opportunities by establishing a mini processing unit. It's a combination of various mini processing units where we intend to provide training to the aspiring entrepreneurs or the young generation, and we give a hands-on training, which is the USP there. We also try to incubate them and give them mentoring support. We also link them to all the backward and forward linkages in the agri value chain, and we support them until their business development. Here is an overview of all the slides. We intend to start off with an integrated training cum production center where we will target the rural population and address the unemployment. As mentioned, our USP is the EDP integrated with end-to-end support services, giving on-job hands-on training. We go ahead with the principles. AgriQuest. We always quest for the change in the agriculture sector and getting changes in the value chain, and our initiatives comes up with the quality, uniqueness, enthusiasm, sustainability, and trust. Here we have with us, it's our pleasure, sir, to have you here, Dr. G.V. Ramanjanelu Garu, who's an Executive Director of CSA. I would like to take a minute to brief about him. G.V. Ramanjanelu Garu is currently working as an Executive Director at CSA, Center for Sustainable Agriculture, and Expert Director at Sahajaharam Producer Company. He has PhD in Agriculture from IIRI, New Delhi. His passion towards farming community can be proved by his unique personality of joining Agriculture Research Services in 1996 after clearing IRS, which is an eminent opportunity, and he continued till 2004. CSA work featured in 8th episode of Satyamev Jayate Toxic Food, which is a unique video. I would suggest you go and watch all the participants to watch that. He's a popular being a TEDx speaker for thrice. His other topics are poison on plate, how you can help ensure a secure income to farmers, caring for those who feed the nation. All these YouTube videos you can search and you can get his views and experiences. He's the first TV9 Navar Nakshatra Sanmanam Lifetime Achievement Award, third Badshah Khan Memorial Award by ITM University, Gwalior, and Raitu Nestam Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019. He won Best Rural Innovation Award in Maharashtra Rural Innovation Award in 2014 for Community Managed Sustainable Agriculture, and Bihar Rural Innovation Award in 2014 for Non-Pesticide Management. He also won World Bank Development Marketplace Award in 2005. He is currently working on public policy issues impacting on food systems and farmer livelihoods, and a framework to ensure income security for farmers of various states in establishing ecological and economically sustainable agriculture models. He's building a community marketing system, Sahaja Aharam, linking farmer cooperatives directly to consumers. It is one of the unique model which everyone needs to learn and also inspired from the work which is carried over there. He's working on building community enterprises and open source systems. He's working as a research organization supporting the programs of state and central governments currently engaged with government of Andhra Pradesh in promoting natural farming. In Telangana, their organization is working with Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty, and in Maharashtra with Maharashtra State Livelihoods Mission, Northeast Rural Livelihoods Project in building the capacities of the staff and organization involved in the program. He's also working with NABARD in supporting establishment and strengthening of over 300 FPOs, which is a prime topic across the country. Now they are working in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. He initiated Kisan Mitra to improve last mile delivery of all support services, which is again a unique model which needs to be studied well and inspired. And their governance, which is currently operating in 3 districts of Telangana. He started Grameen Academy, which runs regular courses on agroecological approaches, farmer producer organizations, and rural business enterprises, public policy for agriculture. We thank you again, sir, for giving us the opportunity to host you as a speaker. We would like to, I will stop sharing this and please request you to take the presentation ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Soumini. Good evening, and it's great pleasure talking to you about the organic and natural agri-value chains, and what are the opportunities and what are the challenges in this establishing the value chain, particularly about the certification, because the validity of the claims made as organic is always under question, and many people always have doubts about how do we ensure the produce which is shared is as per the claims. And also Government of India has come up with various various policy changes in terms of certification. So around that we will discuss about it. If you have any questions and all, please do add into the chat box. We talk about organic or natural supply chain. It's directly from the inputs used in agriculture to the final product which consumer needs. So during the process, in between there are number of players, number of activities. So when we have number of activities and players, how organic integrity is maintained across the supply chain is a big question. So to have this integrity in terms of same quality is maintained from the inputs to final packet which consumer buys, all the players involved and all the activities involved have to come up with a kind of system which can actually ensure that all the players have managed the quality. Otherwise, if anyone in the link is not managing the quality, the final product which consumer buys may not be of the quality which is expected. So when we talk about certification, the certification is about endorsing that all the practices followed by all the players across the supply chain from input manufacturing to final product consumption. So that is something which we need to look at. So when we talk about supply chain management, this is the end-to-end kind of thing. But largely we look at from a production to final consumption. And current status, if you look at why there is so much talk about organic food today, there's a global market which is increasing significantly, and the compound annual growth rate of market growth is around 16%, the organic food market. Whereas the conventional food produce, agriculture produce growth rate is only about 10% internationally if you take. And in India, it is around 25% growth rate is registered, and it is growing at a very, very rapid pace. So obviously there is a more attention given to the organic and natural farming, the produce which comes out of it. And compared to any other sector, so whether in agriculture or outside agriculture, such a significant growth rate is not registered. So that's one of the reasons why organic and food value chains have gained a lot of attention in the recent past. We have already a large volume of wild harvest, which is collected from the forest areas. In fact, significant amount of organic produce, which is sold internationally by Indians, are wild harvest, so which is collected from the forest areas. And we have the largest number of organic producers in the world. We have 20 lakh organic farmers. And when I talk about organic farmers, these are certified organic farmers, because in India, certified organic production is what is considered as organic. So the term organic can be used only if you are certified. So that's what the term used. And beyond that, there could be many more farmers who don't use chemical pesticides and fertilizers. And nearly about 699 food processors are there who are organic, and 669 exporters are registered to export organic produce from India. And we rank 9th in terms of area and the largest in terms of number of farmers. And as per the Indian Organic Sector Vision 2025 report, we are expected to grow to around 2,700 crore business by 2025. And to give a comparison, we were 75,000 in 2015. So you can imagine what would be the significant jump in the growth of organic food business, which we are expecting to. And there is also a significant growth which is going to happen domestically across the country. So this is the eastern part, western part, southern part. So if you look at across the country, there is a significant growth which is possible in the next few years. I think that's a great opportunity which India has now. And we are already significant exports already are happening from India. And India exports about $515 million in 2017-18. And we also export, which is around 1.35 million tons. And the larger exports are to US, Europe, Canada, Japan, and West Asian markets. And we are the largest producers of organic cotton. And we are also largest producers of oil seeds and other sectors. So nearly in the wild harvest, in the organic cotton, in the oils and oil seeds. So we are the largest. And in the rest of the produce, there is a great scope for us to expand. So there's a great market for organic produce in the world. And the domestic market is also growing significantly. So what is actually organic produce? The categorization of a product as organic implies three main things. One is about it is grown without using any chemical pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, growth hormones, antibiotics, or genetically modified organisms. It is grown like that. Second is stringent organic cultivation standards are followed with respect to the impact on soil, water, and air. So it is not only about not using it, but there are stringent quality standards which need to be followed. And there should be a verifiable record that you have followed the practices. So it's about not using, it's not only about not using the chemicals, but also following a set of standards. And then those standards, the process that you adopted those practices and quality standards need to be verifiable. So these are the three things which makes it an organic product to be sold in the market. Which means the production plots have to be managed well, and then the collection centers, processing and packing facilities, all need to be managing these systems which are required. And when it comes to the practices in India, there are a number of models which are adopted. So we call it as organic farming, we call it as natural farming, Subhash Palegur's ZB and zero budget natural farming, biodynamic farming, permaculture. So name doesn't matter as long as the approach doesn't use any agrochemicals and genetically modified organisms. So you can adopt any of these practices. To resolve the issue, Government of India has come up with a new name now. It is called Bharatiya Prakriti Krishi Paddhati, BPKP, which is in English loosely translates as Indian natural farming. So this covers all practices which are followed in India. And there is a lot of public policy support which is available in terms of schemes. So Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana is the largest scheme. And there's a lot of programs available under Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, RKVY, and many states have come up with their own organic farming policies and programs for implementation. Many states have become organic as well. So a lot of opportunities does exist in terms of moving towards organic. So when we look at the layers in the marketing, in India, we have different forms of supply chains. So from the farmer to the consumer. There are a number of players involved, and farmer can sell directly to the consumer. Farmers may sell in the local market where consumer can come and directly buy. Farmer may sell to the retailers, and retailer from consumers can buy. There are collection centers coming up which goes to the wholesale, and then processing units, and then retailer. So there could be number of players depending on the product and the way the produce is marketed. So there are different layers in the supply chain. And particularly when it comes to the organic supply chain, one of the major difficulties is that the produce, when there are no bulk and wholesalers, there are no bulk buyers and wholesalers in the organic supply chain. So any retailer has to hold the produce for the entire year. That's a major problem today, which many of them are facing. Otherwise, they have to buy from stockists, and then obviously that increases the cost. So many of them try to hold the produce around the year, and that's what increases the costs and risks in agriculture. So while we look at that there are a number of players in between, and then all of them are taking away the benefits. Obviously, they get the price margins and then the benefits in the supply chain, but they also offer certain services which we also need to think of. And when they take up these services, if they are charging for that, that should be fine if the services are useful. But many times in India, when I'm talking about conventional produce or even organic produce, the middlemen in between offer only aggregation services, not much. So the last mile aggregation, the front mile aggregation of the produce is the costliest in organic produce. And when the consumers are very distributed, the last mile delivery also is very costly, because like say if I have a shop but the consumers are distributed across the city, it becomes very costly for me. So we need to figure out models where the supply chain logistics can become very efficient. So that is one of the very important thing which we need to look into. So FPOs becomes one very good way of dealing with that. So farmer producer organizations can be the first mile aggregators, so where farmers can aggregate all the produce, they can store the produce, they can do the value addition, and then the retailers can buy directly or the wholesalers can buy directly. And even if it is an export market, they can deal directly with that. So FPOs becomes one of the important layer in the new supply chains which are emerging. But we also need to see there many FPOs are coming up, but they're not becoming viable. So how do we deal with that? So one of the things we tried out we worked with about 200 farmer producer organizations in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So what we tried is, in our own experiences, a federation of FPOs works better. So what we do is, farmers are organized into groups. So individual farmers, single women or other vulnerables are organized into groups. So they follow the organic certification. So the basic unit we work with is a farmer group. And these groups are provided with basic services in terms of the pre-production, in terms of accessing credit, insurance, subsidies, and then skill building, and then in terms of weather intelligence, market intelligence, all these services are provided. And during the production, we have weekly advisories, quality management in terms of production or in terms of harvest and in terms of aggregation and grading. And custom hiring services of labor and implements are provided. Labor in the sense, say harvesting, so mango harvesting requires a kind of skill, vegetable harvesting needs a kind of skill, in terms of weeding it needs a specialized skill, they may be using certain tools. So skilled labor is one of the service which we are offering, and we are also offering implements, collection of implements, so that the service skills can be used more efficient. Similarly, post-production, we have procurement, aggregation, grading, and so these services are offered to so the FPOs offer these services to the farmer groups. So this is a model we are trying out. And then in terms of production, we have food, grains, vegetables and fruit, poultry, sheep and goat. We also supply the inputs through the FPOs, seeds, bio inputs, fodder, seeds, all this. And similarly, value addition is also done at the primary FPO level. In addition, what we tried is, each FPO cannot survive on its own. So FPO also needs a set of services. So if you look at here, FPO to offer its services to the farmers, they need extension services, they need rural enterprise services, they need financial services, they need input services, and they need quality assurance services like the certification. They also need access to the government services and entitlements for the farmers, like there's a credit, there is a pensions, there are direct cash transfers, there's the income support, there are a number of services and entitlements which farmers have to get access. Similarly, marketing, so buying the finding the buyers, whether it's about processed food or it's a raw material, raw food, so those services. And similarly, legal services, legal compliances are too many. It's about it's not only about GST and IT returns, but also about licenses for various activities which FPO does. Say if it is into input business, then there are certain licenses which is required. If it is into processing, then it needs FSSAI license. So there are a number of licenses which it requires. So FPOs also cannot manage on their own. So what we tried is to organize FPOs also into a federation, and then federation takes care of aggregating these services and providing to the FPO. So if you look at these two together, the back-end supply chain in terms of strengthening production and backward integration is done by the primary FPO at the field level, and the secondary FPO, which is a federation of these FPOs, does the marketing, are tying up with external enterprises like enterprises or services, say banking services to access credit, or insurance services, or getting aggregated inputs, or in terms of accessing government services, or in terms of quality management services like certification or traceability, or the legal services. So that's the approach which we have taken in terms of layering. So two levels of FPOs. So we have several federations which have been built. Sahajaram is one of the federation which Soumini was talking about. I'll share about it. And then we also supported Society for Elimination of Rural Poverty, Telangana, to form an FPO federation called Benishan. So the Benishan is a farmer producer organization, which is a federation of FPOs, which provides all the support services to the organic, not organic, vegetable producers in the state of Telangana. And we encourage the FPOs to get into the local markets because the best value chain or supply chain is not the longest one. The best one would be the shortest one, where there are not many players, not much cost is involved. So the producer can gain much of the consumer's price. That is the best supply chain anywhere in the world. So if you have any product which you can sell directly to the consumers, go for that. And that's the best option. So we encourage FPOs also to do it directly. And if they can sell locally, that's the best thing. If they cannot sell locally, then we need to get into the multi-layer markets kind of thing. And in India, small organic, the original producers they call. So if you are a producer or a producer organization with an annual turnover not exceeding 12 lakhs, you are exempted from having certification if you're doing direct marketing. If you're selling directly, you're not, you don't need to have certification. And now that 12 lakh limit also is going to be taken out, I suppose. And you'll be, so recently, a couple of weeks back, there is a new draft legislation which was announced. So if you are a original producer and if you are selling directly, you don't need to have any kind of certification, you can sell directly. And if you're selling locally, and then if you're selling directly, you're also exempted from GST until the 40 lakh turnover, and beyond 40 lakhs also up to 1.4 crores, you don't need to pay the entire GST. You can only opt for certain fixed payment. So it's about 2% which you can opt for, and you can get over that easily. And grain processing and storage is required. So you can go for a federations at the district level. So there are a number of FPOs which are already being formed. So getting into them or using their services, you can store. And fresh fruits and vegetables can be taken up in peri-urban areas because the storage is very limited. So if you are into peri-urban areas, district headquarters, etc., you can take up fresh fruits and vegetables. Otherwise, the aggregation costs and logistics costs would be very high. Unless you have a value addition or a bulk buyer, don't get into fresh fruits and vegetable sales. And domestic markets are growing significantly, and federations can help certainly. And then there is an increased demand for organic rice, particularly if it is semi-polished and brown rice, and cold-pressed oils market is growing, and then organic pulses, millets, all are growing significantly. So all these markets do exist. Fresh fruits and vegetables, and particularly if they are value added, there's a good market. So pickles or fruits can be done into fruit bars, jams, etc. And if you have an aggregation point, if grade A goes for direct sales, and grade B, grade C can be used for value addition. So that's the approach one need to take. So you can have, say, if you're a groundnut producer, grade A groundnut may go for table purpose or home consumption, whereas grade B and grade C can go for oil production. Similarly, if you're looking at chana dal, or if you look at rice, if you're looking at wheat, or if you're looking at fruits and vegetables, all this is the same story. So A grade can go for the direct marketing, and B and C can go for value addition. That you can always do. So instead of looking for selling to someone who does value addition, if value addition can be built into the local enterprise, it will be very good business. And in India, the Food Safety Standards Authority of India governs the food safety business. So we call it as food business operators. So whoever is involved in the supply chain from the post-production to final sale of the packet, they're all called food business operators. You can be doing any of these activities, activity, or a combination of these activities, or you may occupy the entire supply chain. You'll be called as food business operator, and then you need to obtain a license to do this business. It is called Food Safety Standards Authority of India, FSSAI license. And it can be state level or a national level business, depending on the quantity of business you do. And at the same time, if you are an organic producer, you are supposed to have a certification unless you are directly selling to the consumer. So what are these operations which you do? One is aggregation, so where you aggregate the produce and sell. Say, if 100 farmers have organic rice, so you collect the paddy and then you sell paddy. You grade paddy and then sell paddy, or do a primary processing in terms of making it rice and then sell rice. So this could be bulk sales, or you can do a retail marketing also. It could be vegetables, so you aggregate, you primarily do the grading, sorting, and then either you can sell to the other retailers as a bulk sale, or you can do retailing by setting up a store. So this is a simplest one supply chain. The second supply chain is getting into manufacturing of produce. So you take rice and then you make it into atta or rava, or you actually can make products. So it's not only about secondary processing into making these products. You can also make them into, say, you can make cookies, or you can make bread, or you can make any other product, jams, jellies, and there are a number of other products which consumers can directly consume. So ready to eat and ready to cook products can be made. So this is a manufacturing, and it could, all these involves packing and labeling, and there are set of standards which you need to follow here. So to sell in the retail market directly yourself can do, or you can do through the other retailers, or you can sell to the international market. Any of these things from here to here, you need to, the produce need to be traceable. So any transaction from one player to another player, from one activity to another activity, all need to be traceable and certified. That's what the new law of Food Safety Standards Authority of India says. And why this certification? Actually, why we are talking about certification, which was not a much big topic till recently. So if you look at from that point of view, it is the growth of organic sector which is making it bigger and bigger. So once as a sector is growing, then the volumes are increasing, the distance between producers and consumers are increasing, there are many players in between. So how do you ensure quality in between? Say from producers, if consumers are buying, they know them directly. So it is easy to trust them. But if there are many middle layer people, and if the volumes are higher and then the produce is going to distances, how do you ensure quality? So you need a kind of verification system. That's how the certification comes into picture. So in India, we have two kinds of certification. One is called NPOP, which is a third-party verification system. And this is governed by APIDA, Agricultural Produce Export Development Authority. This is as per the international standards. And there are various agencies which are identified to verify and then issue certificate on these lines. Government of India also began something called as the participatory guarantee system. I'll talk about both of them. So participatory guarantee system. Participatory guarantee system is about producers coming together and the players in the supply chain coming together and then assuring the quality. So it's more of a participatory in nature. So I'm a producer, we're a group of producers. So we all of us maintain the quality and we assure you that it is our collective responsibility. And if anyone gets default, all will take responsibility. Like in the case of women self-help groups for the bank loans, which we give collateral security, the same way quality assurance at the group level works in the participatory guarantee system. And here we also need to understand each country has its own set of standards. So US has its own standards under USDA, EU has its own standards, Australia has its own standard. So if the standards vary, you need to get certificate of you need to follow the standards of the country in which you want to sell the produce. So if you're selling in India, you can follow either PGS or NPOP certification. But if you want to sell in US or Europe or Australia or any other country, that particular country has set of quality standards which you need to follow. So the local standards will be verified against the international standards of the country's standards. And if you are following the same, then you can sell there also. So when you are exporting a product, they verify the standards which you follow. And how organic certificate verifies? See, it's a labeling system. On the final packet, there is a label, and then that label says the processes which the producers of that product has followed. So if you are buying a cookies packet which has a certificate, that certificate talks about who has manufactured it, what ingredients were used, and what practices were followed, and who verified that and then certified that process. So if you take that number and then look back, then you will know who is the agency which has been producing that cookies. And from there, you can know who are the producers who supplied that ingredients also. So that traceability system does exist as part of the certification. Consumers wants organic product. So obviously it is a label, and understanding organic reference standards, and then consumers also should understand what to look for when they are asking for organic. So the label is this, the green one, which is called Jaivik Bharat. So in India, like I mentioned, there are two kinds of certifications. One is called India Organic. The second one is called the PGS India Organic. These two are now brought under one single certification system. It is called Jaivik Bharat. So this is the main logo. And there are some private players who are under operation. This is called Zero Label. Zero Label is about pesticide-free produce. It doesn't talk about fertilizer use, but it's about pesticide use. So it's a zero pesticide use in production. And similarly, there's a fair trade certification, which talks about not so much about organic production, but it talks about the equity of profit distribution along the supply chain, so that the people involved in terms of farmers are paid fair price, the labor are paid fair wages, the processors are paid fair price. So all that is what comes under fair trade. PGS India, PGS Organic Council is another private label, which is promoted by Organic Farmers Association of India. Now it is also adopted by many agencies in the country. And this ecological footprints labeling is also becoming very popular. Now it is about what is the ecological footprint of a food before it reaches your plate. So how much water is used, and then compared to a same product, how environmental friendly it is, what is the distance it traveled. So all these are captured in terms of ecological footprints, because organic certification only talks about organic production. So coming to the organic certification under ICS, which is internal control system, the third party verified NPOP standard certification. There are 28 accredited bodies across the country where you can get certification. There are certain state agencies which are also into organic certification. Odisha has, Uttarakhand has, Telangana has this kind, Madhya Pradesh has this kind of organic certification agencies at the state level. And they are much cheaper. and you can approach them. And what is certified? The certification is for the farm plots. So the plot in which the organic farming is done is what is certified. So that plot has to be maintained annually into only for organic production. You cannot go for conventional production in that farm plot. So the plot is fixed. So you get actually certificate for that plot. So whatever is produced in that season for that, in that plot is what you get a certificate. So every year you have to update the certification about the crop which you have grown there. So if you are growing, say, you are growing paddy, you get about for 24 quintals of yield, you get a certificate. And if you are growing arhar dal, you get certificate for somewhere around 5 to 6 quintals, depending on the type of soil. So the quantity for which you get certificate depends on the area you are adopting, and then the area which is certified. So you need to have at least 2 years of certification. Third year, you will get the certificate. Your certificate is eligible to be sold as organic. Before that, it is called in conversion. So first 2 years, you are considered as in conversion period. And if you are having a processing facility, they also can be certified as organic certifying agents, certifying body, certifying units. So whatever produce you buy should be organic, whatever you process should be organic. So that when you pack it, you are packing organic produce. So you need to maintain all the data. So even as a processing facility, if you have a process, if you are a producer and if you have an organic processing facility, or if you are a food business operator, you buy produce, process, still you need to have the certified processing facility. You are only a food business operator where you don't own processing facilities or farm plots. So what you do is you only buy the raw material, process it somewhere, and then pack it. So your brand also can have a certification, and you can hire the services from organic certified processing facilities, and you can buy the produce from the organic producers. So that's how organic certification system works. An individual or a group can get the certification. Cost depends on the locations and the number of farmers involved. So approximately it costs around 2 to 3 lakh rupees for a group of 500 farmers. So what does the FSSA rules say? FSSA rules say any packet which is sold as organic or natural or any similar term has to be certified, and the label which is printed on the packet has to be printed. So it cannot be a sticker which you attach to the packet. So you cannot have that. So it should be a printed packet which you need to adopt. And the exemptions were there till April 1st, and then now they are getting finalized. And aggregators were exempted up to 50 lakh rupees, and small original producers and producer organizations were exempted while doing direct marketing. And now there is a new draft which is released, which will be removing this condition also if you are selling directly, but you need to maintain the data yourself. I think that's what, if you are selling directly, that's the exemption which you may get. This is under consideration. It is not yet being implemented. And here, what we need to remember is when you are selling a product in the market, there are 2-3 different kinds of label which you make a claim. So label claim under. So we call it as label claim. So when you buy a packet, on it, what are you making the claim? So if you're saying 100% organic, you can only say a product being 100% organic if it is a single product, single ingredient product, which means it is either a chili powder, it is a rice, it is a moong dal, or it is a arhar dal. So it is a single product, or it could be a sugar, or it could be a jaggery. So it is a single ingredient product, and entire product is certified organic. Then you call it as 100% organic. So when you are putting a label on the packet, you need to remember you can only say 100% organic if it is a single ingredient product and all the ingredients used are the entire ingredient is the organic, certified organic produce. Second label is a certified organic. Certified organic is a multi-ingredient product, which means you are selling a biscuit, if you are selling a cookie, if you are selling a bread, or if you are selling a jam, or you are selling a pickle, where there are more than one product which is involved. So if it is a more than one ingredient is involved, 95% of the ingredients by weight need to be certified organic. 95% of the ingredients, excluding water, salt, excluding water and salt, 95% of the ingredients which you use in production of that particular product need to be from the certified organic source. Then you can claim it as certified organic. You cannot claim it as 100% organic. You can claim it as certified organic. The third label is called made with organic. Made with organic is between 70 to 95% if the ingredients are organic, and rest of the products could be, say, if you are making cookies in which butter is not organic, or sugar or jaggery is not organic. So one or two ingredients which are of less than 30% share in the weight by weight is not organic, but the rest of the 70% are organic. You can label it as made with organic. And there is if it is anything less than 70%, you cannot claim anything as organic. You can only put in bracket that that particular ingredient is organic. For example, you are making pickles and used organic chili powder, but your mangoes are not organic, or the tomatoes are not organic, oil is not organic. So obviously they make more the bulk of the quantity. So only a chili powder is organic because people fear about chili powder, because the chilies are never washed in their lifetime. So any chemicals present in the chilies comes into your food. So people fear about chili powder. So you may be using only organic chili powder. So in that case, you cannot write as organic pickle. You only can write as organic next to the chilies when you are mentioning the ingredients. So that's what the rule says now. Now let's talk about how it gets transferred to others. There's something called as transfer certificate. Transfer certificate means in the crop production, you have a certificate. So you are a producer, so you have a certificate, and this producer certificate is transferred to the processing unit. So if you yourself have a processing facility, you need to take for that also, and then you sell to consumer directly. But if you are not doing this process yourself, but you are selling to a trader, along with the produce, you need to transfer the certificate also. So for example, you have 2 tons of tomatoes which you have produced. So if you are selling 2 tons to one trader, along with your tomatoes, you have to transfer the certificates, and then you will not have any tomato to be sold as organic, but the trader will have 2 tons of tomato which they can process and sell to consumers directly. If your produce is bought by a trader and then this trader buys from others also, the moment this trader buys from you and others, it is all entered into the trader certificate, and this trader can also sell to another trader, and that trader also can sell to other trader. So there could be many people in between also, but all of them, there will be a transfer in the certificate which happens. And finally, what consumer buys is the final packet. Whoever manufactures the final packet, their certificate is carried by the packet. So from there, you can trace back to the original producer who has produced it. So that's a approach. So the smaller the supply chain, you can tracing the producer is easier. So if it is not a smaller supply chain, obviously it will be very difficult. So how do you set up a entity? This probably others might have already talked about, so I won't talk much. So apart from farmer producer organizations, you can set up a sole proprietorship or partnership, one person company, limited liability company. There are a number of other forms of registration of yourself, and you need licensing and registration for trade license, and then you are also under shops and establishment license. For FSSAI license, you are exempted up to 12 lakh rupees, and beyond 12 lakh rupees, you need to have FSSAI license, and up to 20 crores, you can run with a state-based license. But if you have more than 20 crores, you can opt for a central license also if you have more manufacturing units across. And you need to also have GST license. Where do you source if you are a processor, or where you sell your produce? You can do it from farmers, you can do it from FPOs, you can do it from bulk vendors. And sorry. Some of the sources are Jaivik Kheti is a website which Government of India runs. which is all the PGS organic certified organic farmers data is available. So you can register yourself as a buyer or a supplier, and you can place orders, and then you can directly buy from the producers. This is called jaivikketi.in. Similarly, we have set up a marketplace called Organic Mandi, where farmer producer organizations or individual producers can register, even suppliers can register, and all produce is available in terms of produce, which you can buy in aggregate quantities, and then you can also get information whether what kind of certification that they have, and then which week of the month you get the harvest, and then what is the volumes which are available. So all that information will be available. You can directly place your orders, and if you are an FPO, you can maintain all your data in terms of your produce. So organicmandi.co is the website. You can register yourself. There is also a mobile application. And if you are a buyer, you can also register yourself, and then you can also keep asking for your produce so that people can also grow the produce. So there's an aggregation of several FPOs across the country which are already registered here. You can go and check the Organic Mandi website. And our own experiences in dealing with this supply chain. We run a farmer producer organization federation. It is called Sahaja Aharam. They sell directly to the consumers. It's a federation of 16 FPOs in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And they run stores. So they aggregate, they process, they pack, and then they sell directly to the consumers. And they also sell to the bulk buyers. They supply organic produce to the other buyers. They also supply Sahajaram packets to the other buyers. And we are into fresh fruits and vegetables. We are into grains. We are into oils. It's almost 230 products is what Sahajaram today sells. And we have 4 stores in Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam. And we also have mobile stores which sells directly to the consumers. And we also engage consumers in terms of having nutritional counseling and then various other engagements for the consumers. And anyone who want to know more about Sahajaram can check the website sahajaharam.com and visit any of the stores which we have. One of the things we tried is, like I was saying, the benefits of being a federation. So if 5-6 cooperatives are there, and then each cooperative maintaining their own processing facilities economically not viable, maintaining a warehouse is not economically viable. So what we tried is to create such facilities at an aggregator level. So for 5-6 farmers, FPOs, we have one processing hub, which has a storage facility, and an integrated processing facility, which has oils, millets, rice, dal, all processing facilities together, along with vegetable grading and sorting table, vegetable and fruit sorting and grading tables, and some more value addition in terms of fruit processing and vegetable processing are also attached to that. As a result, the processing facilities also can run round the year. Many times the economic viability of many of these units are under question. So many times we see that they don't run properly. So they're not economically viable. So we have 4 such locations where we maintain these units. So one we have in Kurnool, it's called Naguludinne. One we have in Maharashtra called Dorli, near Varda. And we have one in Bodam, which is near Eskota in Vijayanagaram district. One is in Kallam, which is near Jangaon. And we also sell directly, not only through the retail stores, we also run mobile stores. Mobile stores has great potential because you don't need to hire the space, and weekly you can go to different places. And so that's the advantage of having a mobile van. So these vans are designed to be a store. Designed to be a store, so it has facilities for storage and also holding the produce while transportation. And each of them also has a traceability system in terms of we know where the van is, and then they're all connected to the online system where they can bill directly to the Sahajar. We also have small vans like this. So here you can see various designs of such vans where we help farmers to sell directly to the consumers locally. So at the village level, so these are about 1 to 2 tons of vegetables which are sold directly, and farmers can take them and then directly sell to the consumers. So we also have a staggered organic production model where farmers learn how to grow vegetables 14 to 15 vegetables, which they can harvest every week round the year. So 365 days you'll have a crop in your field, and 52 harvests you get from a quarter acre plot. So that's what we tried out, and then those farmers sell through these vans. And these are the kind of aggregation centers which one may need to have if you are into fresh fruits and vegetables. This is the Benishan Producer Company's aggregation center and collection centers. So collection centers are at the district level and at the local level, whereas the aggregation center is in Hyderabad in Boinpalli market. So all products comes here. So if you are into organic production, you need to maintain traceability at this level also. And similarly, we also help farmer groups and entrepreneurs to take up processing and storage. So what you see here is these are solar dryers. This is a cold press oil. These are dal units. So we have millet unit, like that. Every product which we sell in Sahajaram are made by the farmers themselves. So any entrepreneur who want to learn these also can learn this. And here what you see is the vegetables, powdered vegetables, the dried vegetables. This is a bakery which we run, onions, and value-added products for ready to eat. Cookies, pickles, snacks, jams, fruit bars. These are also done by the farmers. And we also help farmers on various other additional livelihoods at the FPO level. And they are also aggregated, and then value addition is done. Say honey is produced, and also honey is sold. So back at poultry, chickens are produced, and then the eggs are sold, and chicken is sold. And we also do a lot of bio input production. And sheep and goat, we are not doing any value addition, we are selling directly, but we do in terms of production support for these kind of organizations, farmers who are involved. And we also do organic cotton supply chain from seed to cloth finally. So we partner with our agencies which does clothing, but we produce from seed to processing. Up to processing level, we have units, and then from processing, raw cotton is given to the weavers, and then we also have partnership with Malka, Avihara, Kora, so various brands of organic cotton. And if you are into organic production, and then if you want to know how to manage your pests and diseases, we have a mobile application called Pestoscope, which you can download, where you can identify your pests and diseases and how organically they can be managed. And if you cannot identify from the mobile application, you can send us a photograph. It automatically captures the location, and thereby it also gives us an information about the soil type and weather conditions there. So based on that, we can give you a better advice. So you can use this. It's called Pestoscope, and it is available as an Android application and Google Play Store. It is also a website, pestoscope.com, which you can use. CSA is also a PGS regional council, so we also do organic certification. And today, organic certification is available for crops and orchards, is available for livestock, beekeeping, wild collections, processing and handling. And now it is extended to individual farmers and regional areas also. So you can also get certification for them. We are certified organic. We do certification for all states across the country. And there's a mobile application which is also available if you want to know more, or if you want to maintain, which you can download from eKrishi. And this is called Grameen Academy, like Soumini was mentioning. We run training programs regularly. And there's a mobile application called Grameen Academy again. And there's also a website called grameenacademy.in, on which there are courses which you can register and you can learn. So there are virtual courses, there are practical courses, there's an attachment, and it's not only CSA which offers under Grameen Academy, it's a platform where anyone can offer. You can go through, and then you can also learn how to partner with us in terms of learning and promoting organic farming across the country. Thank you very much. These are our emails and mobile numbers. We run a helpline. So any of these helpline you can call. Numbers, and you can email us for any of these things. These are some of the websites which you can get more information about our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the detailed process in how the organic certification goes and what are the processes involved. It's really informative, and we have quite a lot of questions falling in chat box in the Q&A section. First, we will take the questions on live, sir, who are raising hands. I will allow Amit Kumar.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Amit Kumar Mittal. I'm working in Military Engineer Services and will be retiring within 3-4 years. I've got 4-5 questions. If we got time, I'll raise all the questions. The first question is,
Yeah, tell me.
the first question is, how do you ensure that the seed used for organic farming is really organic? Because the organic process starts right from the seed.
Yes.
So there is a dearth of availability of organic seed and certification of organic seed.
Yeah. See, when the certifiers verifies the practices followed, you need to show where the seed came from. So the source you need to show. So that's how it is verified. And there are now FPOs which are into organic seed production. There are FPOs which are into organic seed production. So Sahajaram does a lot of organic seed production, and there are a number of other organizations across the country. So you can get the certified seeds from them. And we are also, till now, there is no PGS certification for seed production. We are now trying to set up that also. But organically grown seeds are available, and you can buy. So they are available.
My next question is, why still this wholesalers and retailers are part of supply chain, despite of having FPO?
See, FPOs have problems in terms of aggregation, storing, and then value addition. Say, if I'm talking about paddy or rice, I have to store it for about more than a year. So if I have to store for more than 1 year, then I need to have investment, I need to have storage facility and all. So extremely difficult in terms of doing that. So money is involved there. So I need to have a lot of working capital, and then I need to pay the interest, which gets added on. So wholesalers also, there is a space there. But if they are doing a service which is cost worthy, it is fine. But many times what happens is many of these middlemen, the ad only cost not much of value. That's the problem. Otherwise, many of them.
My question is basically based on the same thing. Like, why FPO come into the picture? Because we want to avoid these retailers, middlemen, and all.
No, but money, it's all about money. So where do you get in terms of
so there is no
storage.
procedure to get loan to FPOs on some marginal rates.
Very difficult.
Okay.
Very difficult.
Okay.
So loans are available at 12%, and you need a collateral security, and then collateral security is non-agricultural asset. So obviously, FPOs will not have any non-agricultural assets as collateral. So rules are very murky and then not very favorable for FPOs as on today.
I think we have to work on this to get the loans to the FPOs.
Of course, we need to
really that. Yeah.
So that's one of the
financial backing without collateral is very important.
Very important.
If we really want to promote this one. Now, I've got one mango horticulture orchard with me of around 10 acres. Okay. I would like to convert this conventional one into organic one.
Okay.
Is it beneficial to convert it? Is it feasible to convert it? And then how much time, how many years it will take to convert it?
See, it takes about 3 years. So the third year you can sell it as organic. So if you start organic process today and then certification today, so third year you can sell it as organic. And it is quite feasible and possible, I would say. Quite feasible and possible. You need to have a good transition
better
plan.
Also? Yeah.
Better also.
This is better also from return point of view? Yeah.
Yeah, see, what happens is you can reduce your costs and you can have a better demand for your produce. See, it's all about, are you going to be one of those producers who are going to, one of those billion producers who are going to sell mangoes in the market, or you are going to be small group of producers who sell organic. So it depends on how you want to sell your produce.
No, initially my plan is that like I may, sorry. Initially, I am planning to convert my farmhouse like that. Then my area has got a lot of mango orchards around my place.
So
then we can form a FPO also. We can form a FPO also.
Yeah, of course you can do. That's what I'm saying. So it's better if you do. So you need to have a proper transition plan.
So it will take 3
So how
years,
do you
not much
convert
of a problem.
No.
Okay, okay.
3
That's
years.
what you have said for all the crops to be converted. It will take 3 years, because first 2
3
years you have to convert in transition, and then it is fully convertible to that.
Yeah, yeah. So 3
Does
years you
this
need to be
woman-
organic. 3
Yeah,
years
yeah.
you need to be organic. Yeah, 3 years you
Correct,
need to be
correct,
organic. So first 2 years you are considered as an in conversion, and third year you can sell.
Does setting a woman SHG, then a FPO has any advantage?
See, women SHGs have certain bank linkages where you can get access to loans. So there are also livelihood loans which are available for them. Even if they're FPO,
okay.
even if they're FPO also, they can access the same. So not much difference, I would say.
One more question is there.
So
Let
can
me
I
find
take
out.
questions from others also? Because
If
otherwise it becomes
one more
like
question.
a one-to-one. Yeah.
If certification is taken separately for plot, processing and final produce, and later on if we want to integrate forward or backward all these certification, is there any issue into that?
See, say for example, if I understand correctly, you have a farm, so you have a certificate, and you have a processing facility, you have a separate certification for that, right? That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah, so each one you need to maintain data separately. Anyway, you need to maintain data separately. So it need not be in one name, it can be in 4 names. So it is about who is getting the certificate. Say, if you are, as an Amit, you are getting certificate for all the 4, then it is on your name.
Understood. And do you
So
have
if
any
4 are
mobile
on
store in
different,
Bangalore? And,
huh?
do you have any mobile store in Bangalore and Mumbai?
No, Bangalore and Mumbai we don't. In Hyderabad we have. In Visakhapatnam.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
We will allow Shashi Vandana.
See, millets organic by default. Yeah. See, if you are not using chemicals, it doesn't have any residues to sell. No, in any produce there won't be any residues. But to sell as certified organic, you need to have a certificate. So that you have followed a set of practices. So that's what is the certification about. So if you want to sell millets also as organic labeled, so like I said, any of the label you want to use as say 100% organic label you want to use, or certified organic label you want to use, or made with organic label you want to use, it needs to be certified. And millet processing, yeah, we have millet processing. Depends on which area you have. So you want to get it processed. We have in Visakhapatnam and Anantapur and Kadapa, Kurnool. These areas we have the millet processing units. So you can always connect to us.
Shashi Vandana, please ask your question now.
So that was her question.
That's okay.
Yes, I think it has been answered. Sir, in addition to that, I have one more question, sir. May I ask?
Yes. Yeah, tell me.
Hello? Okay. I am interested in selling millets, I mean, exporting millets to USA. So what is the process for that, sir? I mean, I believe
You need to have
organic.
USDA. If you want to sell as organic millets, then you need to have USDA certified organic millets. So in production and in processing, they need to have the certificate.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Surinder Kumar Kar.
Hello, I am audible?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
So I saw some organic certifications, different type of certifications. How we can take a zero certification? Which agency is providing zero certification?
Only pesticide free.
Only pesticide free, I know. Which agency is providing this type of certification?
There is an agency called Safe Harvest. So
Safe
you can
Harvest.
approach them. Yeah.
Okay. I am working on
You
project.
can Google
of
for
good
them.
agriculture.
Yeah.
I am working on a project with the agriculture practices where we are
Okay.
making zero pesticide.
So there is also GAP certification. There is also a GAP
That is
certification.
GAP
It is
certification.
the US standards, and Zero certification is the Safe Harvest.
Okay.
Somebody asked about the bank for banking support for organic processing facilities. So there's about 35 to 50% subsidy available under various schemes. So which you can avail.
Which type of scheme? Yeah.
Manufacturing, recently government has announced mini food parks. So mini food processing units.
Mini food park. What does it mean? A mini food park? Any
Mini
farmers?
food processing units. Mini food processing units.
Okay.
Which means you need to be under micro food enterprise. So it's a category called micro food enterprise. So micro food enterprise, if you come under that, you can get it.
Okay. Micro.
So you can check for that. Food enterprise. So there's a scheme where 1 lakh crores has been earmarked for that.
This scheme, which under this, which scheme is coming? This scheme.
This is called micro food
MOFPI.
units.
MO.
Ministry of Food Processing has announced this scheme.
Okay. In any consultancy and in Punjab, you are Punjab area. Any consultancy of agriculture or from you in Punjab area?
No, what kind of consult? So write to me what you want. Then based on that, I can connect you to the people.
Okay.
Somebody asked about soil-less farming like hydroponics or cocoa pit kind of thing. See, these doesn't have certifications right now. So the certifications are all linked to the soil-based production systems.
Vasudev Rogar, please ask him.
Good evening. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening to Mrs. Somani and Dr. Anjaneyali.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to. It's a very good knowledgeable information Dr. Anjaneyali is providing. And one thing I would like to ask, the thing is regarding the organic farming, in the future about 25 to 30 years, the dearth of professionals who can do the farming and establish the processing facilities, how we are going to face the challenge?
See, I think there's an interesting and important question. See, a lot of investment have to go in terms of building the capacity of the people. See, what is happening is somehow we all feel people know farming by default. So not proper capacity building is done for production, in production. So I think a lot of investment should go on that. So that's how we started this Grameen Academy, which regularly runs training programs and capacity building programs at the field level. We also use practicing farmers in training. So we use across the supply chain, whatever trainings we are doing, like say if you're doing a training on marketing, somebody who is involved in marketing will do the training. So not a theoretical training, everything would be a practical one. So like that we are trying to do. So we need more agencies coming into building the capacities of the people. Today, whatever we are seeing as the crisis in rural areas, as the lack of employment and lack of entrepreneurship kind of thing, is also a crisis because of the educational failure and also systems failure. So people, many of us doesn't have that entrepreneurial skill. So we are all trained to be employees. So you need to have good entrepreneurial courses, both to take up farming or you take up any of the supply chain activities. So that's what we are trying to do, to get people to do that.
One more question I would like to ask.
Yeah.
What about the cost economics for this organic farming, and how long it will take to come into profitable business?
Which one? In terms of production, you are saying?
Production, processing, and marketing. How long it will take to come into profitable business?
See, that depends on your business planning and then the volume of business you want to deal with. See, in terms of production, it may take a couple of years to stabilize. So what we have seen is most of the cases by end of second year, the yields get stabilized with not more than 5% variation, and in both in terms of cost and in terms of yield. So that's quite possible. And in terms of business, it depends on the business. So FPOs can become viable only in 5 years or so, because the costs involved, all that would be there. And if you are into retail business, probably it may take about 6 to 7 months. What we have seen is if you're setting up a retail stores, say many of the Sahajaram stores, when they came up, it took about 6 months time to reach out to the cost to cost kind of thing. So to reach a break even, 6 to 7 months kind of. So if you have a regular supply chain, then you can reach out faster. So that's where I'm saying how you integrate with the supply chains is very important. If everybody want to build the entire supply chain, then you're not only aggregating the profits, but you are also aggregating the costs and risks, which you need to understand. That's something which is very important. So how do you create an ecosystem where you can build your business is something we need to look for.
Thank you very much.
Samir Ranjan, please ask your question now. Mr. Samir Ranjan?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir. Nowadays, I started thinking about the rice, organic farming in rice cultivation. So here I am going to fertilizer-based cultivation and turn into organic farming cultivation. And if the production is affect the rice cultivation in case of fertilizer to convert organic cultivation, sir, in the rice cultivation, sir.
It is quite possible. Which area you are talking about?
Odisha, sir.
Odisha, which place in Odisha?
Kalahandi, sir.
Okay. See, one of the things you can think of is go for SRI kind of system, which is much easier, system of rice intensification, where you can reduce water usage also, and go for crop rotation with pulse crops. So that can help, because in paddy you cannot take intercrop. So go for crop rotation with pulse crops. So grow green gram, urad dal, or any of the pulse crops in the Rabi season. That can help.
Okay, sir.
So if you adopt that, it is quite possible.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Very much. Thank you, sir.
Motesh, please ask your question.
Mallikarjuna Mallichettu, there was a question. Can you ask the question? As natural farmer, doing 2009 onwards and followed 100% organic natural, use seeds from third party, hybrid and Sahaja organic. So this is Sahaja organic, not from Sahaja Haram, no? Yeah, for connected with export and underwent testing, they found toxins in the food. Yeah, so see, if the seed is treated with chemicals, obviously your produce will get chemicals. And if your soil has residues left over for a long time, then obviously some chemicals may come in. So it is advisable to test for the soils if the soil is using chemicals for a long time. Particularly if you are going for exports, you need to probably check once. Yeah, the seeds which are sold by Sahaja are tested. Sir. Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I'm from Nilgiris. I'm looking for marketing of milk products as organic. What are the procedures I have to follow, sir?
See, again, the cattle which you are using has to be fed on organic fodder, and you cannot have growth hormones used in production, and the fodder should be organic, certified organic, and at least 3 years gap in terms of the fodder. So they need to be fed because animal body also accumulates chemical pesticide residues. So the best would be to, if you don't want, if you don't want to have any residues, start with young cows and then build on that. That's the best option. Otherwise, if they're grown up animals, then it is a bit difficult, but still if you give a gap of 2 to 3 years, then you can manage it. But fodder should be 100% organic, and you should not use any growth hormone. There is a certification standards which are available, and which you can see, and then you can use it.
Thank you, sir.
You can connect it to us. We can share all the certification standards, etc. So I'm also typing here the standards, the websites and all. Yeah.
Govindu.
Sir, very good afternoon, sir. Sir, what are your plans to scale up Sahaja Aharam where the store is not available right now? For example, if any farmers are interested, so if your franchise is available.
Yes. So store franchises are available, and then we also get farmers to join as in the part of the federation. They can do that, and we also have supplier registration, where if you are a farmer producer organization, you can always get back to us in terms of so that we can also add to our suppliers. And on Organic Mandi, we are also helping to supply to other brands also. And within Sahaja, now stores are also going to be franchised. So from November, December, we are going to do this. We were actually stuck up. We wanted to start an international business, which we are doing now. So we were stuck up with that. So that's how we didn't expand in India, in other states. We are going to do this by December this month. So on sahajaram.com website, you have franchisee applications you can store.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mallikarjun Garu, you can ask a question.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, I have one question. If I want to establish a FPO in Anantapur and I want to establish a sales counter in Bangalore, where we can find finance support for this kind of a thing, sir?
See, financial support. See, FPOs are promoted by Department of Agriculture, Horticulture, or by NABARD, or by National NCDS. They call National Cooperative Development Society. So any of them can support you. There are a number of schemes which are available to support FPOs. And for setting up food processing facilities and all, Ministry of Food Processing has schemes which you can approach.
No, I want to do like a direct, fresh produce. No, I want to establish a counter.
See, it depends on for what you want. Say, if you want to set up a unit processing facility, then there are certain loans available, certain grants available for the setting it up. And if you want to set up a FPO, then there are certain support systems available. If you want to buy a van, there is certain. So it depends on what you want. See, no one helps you to sell vegetables, right? Say you should know what you want. So make a business plan. So do you want a van? You want to set up a store? So stores, you want a store space, or what do you want? Or you want a cash? What do you want? So depending on that,
stores like outlet facilities. No, I want to establish.
Outlet facilities are not. Outlet facilities are not given by anyone. But what you can do is, as part of your business plan, if you cost your outlet thing and all, probably you can get a loan for that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Shruti, are there any questions left over? I think in Q&A and chat box, there are few. I request Shruti to take up the questions to you, sir, so that it's easy for you to answer.
Question from Venkat. We are starting online shopping portal for vegetables and food. What are the best options to get quality produce?
See, you can start. See, if you're into Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam, you can approach us for vegetable supply. So likewise, wherever you are going to start, then you can get the vegetable supplies. So you need to find suppliers. So supplies is what you need to do for. And ensure regular supplies. These two are important. So suppliers who can get you regular. So they must be with large number of farmers. Otherwise, you have to depend on aggregators. So that is an issue. So in Hyderabad or Visakhapatnam, if you are there, then we can link up. Even Bangalore, we can do because we are supplying to Bangalore. So Bangalore, Visakhapatnam, or Hyderabad, the vegetable supplies we can do. Yeah.
Another question from Srikanth Garu. If we want to certify for an individual farm like 5 acres, what would be the cost for 1 acre?
See, per acre, if you have 1 acre, 2 acres kind of thing, I would say it would be economically viable because the volume of produce you get is very low, and then the certification cost will be high and you cannot sell anywhere. So if you are part of a group, or then it becomes economically viable. So cost is not much actually. It's not about the cost, but it's not worth it. And similarly, for a certification agency to come to your place and certify, whether it is 100 acres or 1 acre, it's the same cost. So they charge the same. So having more farmers in the certification process is better. So for a group of 15 farmers, and then 15 farmers each having around 2 acres, so it's about, so if you go by that minimum, and so it may cost around 10,000 rupees. So per acre, farmers would be getting around 700 rupees or so per year. That's the approximate cost, I would say.
So we are working on Palmyra palm products. Can we claim organic products as these are all grown in wild zone?
Palmyra is organic, certainly wild harvest, because it is wild harvest. So you need to get certification under wild harvest. But processing also you need to get certificate. Then only you can claim it as organic. Even under wild harvest also, say honey which is collected from forest, you need to have a certificate for that. Likewise, Palmyra, you can get certified. So you can say which area you are collecting it, and you need to have data of collection. So those two, you get a certificate. As a wild harvest, you can get certification.
Sir, how will you define natural farming? Are they different from organic products, or natural products require any certification? If yes, can you please provide us details?
Right in the beginning itself, I said technically there is no difference between any of these things. It is basically not using chemicals, not using genetically modified organisms. So whether you call it as organic or natural, it's all the same.
If certification is taken separately for plot, processing, and final produce, then how do you do for forward and backward integration of all such certification?
Tell me again.
If certification is taken separately for plot, processing, and final produce, then
I told that answer. I already answered that.
Okay, so sorry. What is the difference between federation and FPO?
No, FPO is a single one. Federation is a group of FPOs. If they come together and form again an cooperative, like say Amul is a federation. Anand Milk Producers Union Limited is a federation of several small milk producer unions in the district level. So the way it is formed is in Gujarat. There are a number of, at the village level, there are a number of cooperatives. At the district level, Anand District Cooperative Federation is called AMUL, Anand Milk Producers Union Limited. So it's a district federation, and it has several village level cooperatives. And then later on, AMUL became the national brand. So that's a federation means. So Vijaya is a federation. Vijaya Milk is a federation. So there are a number of members of it who produces and then supplies to them. Similarly, you have NAFED is a federation. So number of cooperatives are there. They are members of NAFED. So like that. So that's a federation.
A question from Biswajit Garu. We are a group of farmers intending to go for PGS India certification and also avail the benefits under Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana of Government of India. What's the procedure? Do we need to organize an NGO or approach through an NGO?
No, you don't need to have an NGO for that. What you can do is you can go for you talk to your Department of Agriculture and then get the support under PKVY. For certification, you can approach any PGS organization. So CSA is one, and then there are a number of other organizations. So whoever is working in your area, you can approach.
Is organic cultivation affect the production in rice cultivation, whether it's low or high?
Not much if it is maintained properly. So you need to have proper production system. You need to maintain the proper production system. So I don't think, our last 15, 16 years we have done with several farmers, and we have seen that not much effect has been seen.
Are all the questions done, Shruti?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, another question. Do you have any mobile stores in Bangalore and Mumbai?
Sir has answered that.
That I already answered. No, mobile stores we don't have. We supply to other stores only in Bangalore. Directly we don't have.
Someone is asking, send the link of
Hello.
the farmers agri-business manuals presentation. We are not clear on this question.
What was the question?
In the Q&A section, sir. Can you send the link of smallholder farmers agri-business manuals or presentation? Not clear.
Okay. So if somebody is not clear about their question, then the answer cannot be clear. Right.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Can I have one question? I am Jaipal Reddy.
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, see, in my land, there is no chemical. It's a chemical-free land. It is with me. Okay. Now I want to go for gardening. Well, when I am buying a nursery grafts, how I can know that whether it is organic or inorganic plant?
What are you going to buy? Plants you are saying?
Mango.
That's okay. See, you anyway, that mango takes more than 2 years to grow in your farm. So the variety which you want is what you need to choose.
Okay. Suppose they developed in inorganic.
It doesn't matter because anyway you need to wait for more than 2 years right now, right? So you're not going to buy a tree which is going to fruit this year. It is anyway going to fruit only after 2 to 3 years. So don't worry about it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Nur Muhammad Nur from IRC Afghanistan.
Tell me.
Yes. Can you provide me some information about the producer association and entrepreneurship?
In the sense, how associations can be formed and all you are saying?
Yeah,
we didn't understand your question properly.
Yeah.
So how to form a producer association?
What is the producer association?
Okay. See, I'm
sending difference between producer association and smallholder farmers cooperative.
Okay, so I'm sending you a link where you can get some of this material. Okay. In the chat box, I had typed it's called fpivohub.com. You can get material.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Nandakumar, you can ask a question.
Hello?
I think he left.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we are done with the questions, Chair.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have any others. Thank you once again, sir, for taking so much time.
Thank you. Yeah. I also have a next session. So let's close it here. So if you have, if any participants want anything else, then you can direct to me. Sure. And you can share my contacts and other things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I request all the participants to fill the feedback form so that we can also know the status of how we are organizing the webinars. If it is any discomfort is there for as a participant, we would like to know. And please connect to us on our social media website, and we have all the pages. You can also WhatsApp. The WhatsApp numbers are given in the social media pages. You please write to us at info@agriculture.com. We would like to connect further association and further growth, because this is awareness sessions which we are creating now, but we would look forward for a long-term association with everyone who is involved as a participant, as a speaker, and every part of the stakeholder. Thank you, and please join us for the next sessions on the next weekend. That would be our last sessions in this series. Later on, we will announce again another series based on the time of availability of the speakers and our possibilities. Thank you once again for joining, and thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.